There was nowhere the Lord Protector couldn't reach, no one he couldn't find. The fates of his enemies were in his hands, and while some had already been dealt theirs, not all would be so grim. Some would even prove their worth, righting the wrongs of their past. Meanwhile, others simply got caught in the chaos and had to carry out their part to play. Corvo woke early, eager to talk to their new prisoner. Havelock was waiting. As he stared down Sokolov in his new home, the cage had once been used for dogfights and hadn't been cleaned since then. Still, the royal physician was defiant. That would soon change. After a few brief questions, it was clear that Sokolov cared little for politics and was loyal only to his own wandering mind. This didn't excuse the countless lives he had ruined, developing elixirs at the expense of innocent lives, building machines to segregate the city he served, killing those who defied their tyrannical leader. But his selfishness and lack of loyalty gave Corvo hope that Sokolov would part with the information he needed. It was a simple question. Who was the Lord Regent's mistress? The loyalists knew Sokolov had painted a portrait of her, and that she had shared her wealth with Burroughs. This money was likely given as bribes to other lords who would show their support for Burroughs in return. Sokolov was resolute with his silence, so Havelock revealed his former persuasion. He slammed a fist against one of the kennels, but there were no howls of a wolfhound. Instead, they could hear the biting and scratching of a dozen rats. But it was fine. Havelock reassured Sokolov these rats were clean of the plague. There was a moment where the royal physician winced, ever so slightly. Corvo knew the rats would break the man eventually, if there was anything left of him. But things didn't have to be so messy. He asked Havelock to wait, looking for another way to buy the information they needed. Corvo knew Sokolov. They had spent years both working at Dunwall Tower before this nightmare started. He knew the man was fond of his luxuries. But what sort? Perhaps a man of a similar mind would know. He went to find Piero. Corvo found the inventor spying on Callista. He was ashamed, but quickly changed the subject. Piero claimed Sokolov was obsessed with King Street brandy. How convenient that he had a bottle he was willing to part with for a high price. Corvo took it back to Sokolov, who finally cracked. The woman they were looking for was Lady Boyle, but another problem soon became apparent. There were 3 Boyle sisters, all similar to each other, all very wealthy. It made perfect sense for Burroughs to get close with the Boyle family, for it remained one of the city's richest. Even so, Corvo should only need to take out the right Lady Boyle in order for the Lord Regent to lose a key source of income. Such good timing, for as the rest of the city was rotting away from the plague, the Boyles were throwing a party. Best of all, the dress code was to come wearing a mask. Corvo would fit right in. Before leaving, Trevor Pendleton had a favour to ask of Corvo. If he saw someone called Lord Shaw, he was to deliver him Pendleton's letter, something about settling an agreement. Samuel took Corvo as far as the canal outside the Boyle mansion. Tall boys patrolled the square before it. These was guards standing on large stilts, equipped with incendiary arrows. Was this also the work of Sokolov? The Boyle mansion was a beacon of light in the street so still and seemingly devoid of life. A few weepers lurked outside the mansion, but were no threat to the tall boys, and were quickly incinerated. Guards lazed about, enforcing the curfew, but of course, that didn't apply to the rich partygoers. Floating lanterns lit up the mansion from all sides. Fireworks illuminated the street up front, betraying Corvo's cover. However, it was a different light that drew the eye of the Lord Protector. An ominous purple glow from within a building opposite the mansion was all too familiar. Blinking his way closer, he was not mistaken, for within the decrepit room was another shrine to the outsider, along with a few weepers. After putting them to sleep, Corvo collected the rune before him. The outsider revealed himself once again, but this time he seemed almost disappointed. Corvo, going to a party, whilst the rest of the city faced plague and tyranny? The black-eyed man pondered what would happen to Lady Boyle. One way, she would be killed by Corvo's blade this night. Or she would find herself taken far away, never seeing Dunwall again, living the rest of her days somewhere else. No matter what happened, this would be Lady Boyle's last party. Corvo snuck into the mansion grounds via a neighbouring house, breaking into the servants' quarters and entering the decorated gardens. One of the first and only other guests he met outside was Lord Shaw, dressed in a very fine suit and a mask depicting a fox.
Yes?
Corvo handed him the letter from Pendleton, but took it as an insult. Wishing to end whatever dispute the two lords had, Shaw demanded they duel with pistols, overseen by the mansion guards. Corvo took his place, him and Shaw facing back to back. But as the guards counted down to 1, Corvo used the outsider's mark to slow down time. He switched to his sleep dart and knocked out Shaw before the lord could open fire. Corvo had come this far, breaking into the overseer's headquarters, rescuing Emily with the help of criminals, and kidnapping one of the Empire's most valuable men, all without spilling a drop of blood. He was not about to start now, over some petty argument with a lord he didn't even know. He entered the mansion. The bright lights, exotic foods, and warmth were welcoming. Guests, maids, and guards mingled around the extravagant rooms, so he assumed he should do the same. As he explored the mansion, Corvo spotted the Boyle sisters. Each wore an identical outfit, fit with a bold mask and hat. The only difference were the colours: black, white, and red. One of them was his target. Of course, Corvo could take out all 3 of them to be sure, but that wasn't the sort of man he'd become in recent days. He met a lord by the name of Brisby, who claimed to know of Corvo's mission. He claimed to have done many favours for the Loyalists in the past, but now wanted a favour in return. He wanted to take Esma Boyle, Corvo's target, the woman he loved. Brisby promised that she would never be seen nor heard of again, only that Corvo led her unharmed to the mansion cellar. The outsider was right once again. Not that Corvo had any reason to doubt a god. All he needed to do was find the correct Boyle sister, and convince her to go and meet Brisby. Corvo couldn't help but think this was probably the easiest mission he'd had. After mingling some more, Corvo met Miss White, who, after being bribed with a drink, told Corvo the identities of 2 of the Boyle sisters. Waverley wore black, and Lydia wore white, which meant his target, Esma, wore red. He found his target, Esma, who was enjoying the party very much, complimenting Corvo's sinister appearance. He decided to have some fun, and told Esma exactly what was going to happen. He told her that an assassin was coming to take her life that night, and the only safe place was the mansion cellar. Of course, she took it as a delightful tale to try and get them someplace quiet, the delusions of Dunwall nobility. Esma was eagerly awaiting him, curious as to what would happen next. It was then that Corvo loosed a sleep dart and she fell to the cold hard ground. He carried her away. An underground canal led into the cellar, but in the place of cargo, Brisby waited in his skiff. After placing Esma on board, he thanked the Lord Protector, repeating his promise that she would never be seen nor heard of again. They left. For Corvo, the party was over. He returned to the banquet hall, making sure to sign his name in the guest book, and left the mansion through the main driveway. Running along the empty streets, he found Samuel, who was anxious to leave. The tall boys were prowling nearby, but Corvo was ready, so they wasted no time in returning home. It was Pendleton who first congratulated Corvo, thanking him for dealing with Lord Shaw in such style. He then went to see Havelock and Martin. Yet again, they had wasted no time in their plotting. Throughout Corvo's time in the Helm Pits, there had always been a sense of calm with Havelock. He was a man who liked his luxuries even when working, even when plotting to overthrow the Lord Regent. But now he was solemn. He and Martin looked over a floor plan of Dunwall Tower. With Boyle gone, along with Burroughs' largest source of income, there was only one target left. The time had come. With every key ally of Burroughs eliminated, only the man himself stood in Corvo's path of revenge. He would return to Dunwall Tower, where it all began, and put an end to the Lord Regent here in Burroughs. All the Isles would hear of his treachery. The end to Corvo's life in the shadows was near. At long last, Emily would become the new Empress, and this time of disorder would be over. All he had to do was infiltrate the Lord Regent's fortress, equipped with Sokolov's technology and guided by Burroughs' own private army. What could possibly go wrong? Please subscribe so you don't miss what happens next.